I welcome one and all for the ninth talk of Startup Essentials of IHM Incubation Cell. So the talk is going to be on consumer marketing by Mr. Ravichandran. I request Rishi sir, one of our mentors, to introduce our speaker for the day.
Hi, good afternoon.
Well, I thought we won't have this formal kind of introductions and all that, but anyway, I'll keep it very brief. I don't think that we could have found a better person than Ravi to do this program. Ravi is just retired maybe a year ago from TTK Prestige, where he was the managing director, and I think at least a couple of decades you spent. 30 years, okay. So three decades he spent in TTK Group and risen, but mostly in marketing, sales, production, everything about the company. And very interestingly, we are also IIT Madras batchmates, so we are from the same batch, 1972, and he also did his MBA right after that in IIM Ahmedabad. And interesting, till 2016 we had not met. After IIT. But after his retirement, he started engaging with the IIT Madras ecosystem, and he has been, not only he has volunteered a lot of time in the mentoring process. He's been an active mentor. He's currently chairing IIT Ma's mentoring program for the students. So he's very deeply involved in giving back to IIT, and I'm very delighted that we could have him agree to do this program today. And he comes with a lot of background in marketing and sales to consumers, so I'm sure you're looking forward to hearing from him. And also, this kind of session, this is probably the eighth or ninth session we are having. So most of you, I'm sure, have attended the previous sessions. And the idea of here is, it's not just one way, it's not a lecture really. The intention is that this is very interactive, and it's not just interactive between the speaker and you, but also interactive among yourselves, because ultimately you take back with inputs from each other as much as from the speaker. So enjoy the time and also interact and ask a lot of questions. Thanks.
Thanks, Vijay. Thanks for the very kind introduction. I must say that what you didn't mention, we're also alumni of IIM Ahmedabad, except that he worked for 2 years after IIT and then joined the institute. Because of that, I missed him at IIM Ahmedabad. But otherwise, we would share the same alma maters, both here as well as at IIM Ahmedabad. And strictly, we are very involved in IIT Madras, and strictly, we are completely not involved in IIM Ahmedabad. Maybe because of distance, or maybe because it's decided not to. Anyway, good afternoon to every one of you. When Gopal proposed this, Mr. Gopal was heading these talks, I asked him, at IIT Madras, one thing that I have done, do you think consumer marketing as a whole? Although I have been involved with some of the consumer products, but many of them what I have seen are very much different to the classical consumer market. Is that all? You'll be surprised. I'm sure you'll get a decent number of people who want to know about consumer marketing simply because the subject, maybe because it's a bit alien to them, and therefore they would like to come and so on. So I accepted that, and I gave a synopsis of what I wanted to touch upon. And I think as I was working on this, I found that it's one hell of a lot that I have put in there. that I said I would cover. So I'll start with an apology, and perhaps if it goes well, I can come back for one round, maybe 3 months from now, for the second part of what I done with the new age marketing. But I found that even the first part, if I want to do it from an essentials point of view, it's not going to be easy for me to complete, touch upon everything, not even get into the details. So apologies, I'm going to be touching most of the things, but I do have a little bit of references to digital and how AI is being used in marketing. Some ideas, there's some explanations, and examples may come. So I'm going to start off straight away by implementing what she said. Who is the consumer? Anybody? Who is the consumer?
The ultimate target.
Ultimate target. How different are they from a customer?
Customer, they are repetitive practice buyer.
Maybe a dealer could be a customer, but a consumer could be
User.
end user.
End user.
Are we having some very experienced people over here? Sorry, to cue the whole thing. Perfect. In a sense, both of you are right about customers. But more importantly for this discussion, if you look at marketing, if you look at products or service or anything, all the way up to the point where it is used to satisfy a need, there are several people, but consumer is always the last in the chain. You may have customers. For instance, industrial product is a customer to a manufacturer of a machine is an intermediary, and there will be a dealer, he will be an intermediary. But somebody uses it in the factory, is he a customer? No. So we are not talking about that. We are not talking about at all anybody who is in this chain, product chain, to reach the final product to a certain set of people who actually consume it. Say consume it, use it, take the benefit out of it, and feel satisfied with the use of that. So that's what is a consumer product. That's the consumer. What's the consumer market? The consumer market is what I said earlier, but a little beyond that. It is all the ecosystem that is covering what the consumer is using to satisfy his or her needs. That could be distributor, that could be advertising agency, that could be Facebook marketing, that could be a Twitter, that could be magazine, newspaper which is putting out that. Every one of the research, market research agencies, every one of them get into the consumer market definition. They plug into one or more needs. And what is consumer marketing? Consumer marketing is that activity which will make the consumer to take out the wallet and spend money on that product or service. All the activities that go into take out the wallet, spend that money. So the consumer marketing we ever talk about is actually a complete set of all the activities surrounding ultimate consumption of any product. The minute you start saying that, it's such a huge subject that cannot be covered in 1.5 hours or something like that. So let's just what's called a product. You can substitute product with a service in most cases. First thing is, anybody who wants to do consumer marketing, anybody who wants to start a business, before how many of you are startups? Right? How many of you in product domain in the startup? Okay, good. Great. So, when you are starting a business, or even if you are working for an established company and you are doing marketing, you need to be very clear about who is your consumer. For instance, headache tablet, the consumer is one who gets headaches. Very simple. And you can go on building that. It gets more and more complicated as the product gets more complicated, and therefore it is a difficult process to define who's your consumer. Most businesses, marketing people make the mistake of thinking that I know my consumer, and therefore do a lot of activities around that, ultimately realizing that that's not your consumer. For instance, Ferrari, which builds racing cars, they have defined the consumers very differently to BMW, which also makes cars, which defines the consumer very differently by Benz, and come down here to Volvo, Maruti. Everyone, they operate in the same space, offer mobility to people. So if you look at the business, I am looking at the mobility to people, but within that, there are so many different types of consumers who are looking for different needs. The trick is to understand who is your consumer, and therefore to start with your marketing activity in terms of that. The minute you do that, how do you do that? You try to understand their needs and wants. This presentation will be made available to you, so there is no need to take any notes unless you want to ask me a question. If you want to, please note it down. Needs and wants. This is the most important in the consumer market. Comes out of research and several other activities that you need to do. Direct consumer research, industry research, projecting trend, consumer behavioral trends that you have seen in the past, and so on and so forth. A lot of activities go on here. And market research is a big subject. Once again, market research is a subject which is so difficult to understand if you don't practice it very clearly. And the most difficult part of it is making a hypothesis. Because the market research starts with saying, even if it means and all, if I say I'm creating a hypothesis for a product, what is that hypothesis? Then only I can go and check out in many ways. How do I create a hypothesis? The hypothesis is created in a particular way. There's one classic example, I keep using that because this is something which is, I remember it from my first year, Marketing 101 from IIM Ahmedabad. This is from a book, Guru of Marketing, Philip Kotler. In market research, he talks about drinking Coca-Cola by youngsters, adolescents, leads to violence. It's a hypothesis. And they went and proved it. How did they prove it? They took adolescents who are drinking Coca-Cola in winter, adolescents who are drinking Coca-Cola in summer, in the same area. And then they looked at the number of crime-related activities, they looked at the number of crime-related activities, and then they did a statistical fit. And they found that the fit was very clear. In winter, the fit was very clear. In summer, there was higher consumption because the winter is less consumption. Much more Coca-Cola was drunk, and crime rates are higher, statistically. And Kotler goes on to say how stupid it is. In winter, they are in school. In summer, they are out in the street. In summer, they are out in the street, playing, hot, drinking Coca-Cola, have nothing to do, simple fights, more activities. So the cause and effect are very different. So the needs and wants in the research needs to be very clear, and many of you will find that understanding these needs and wants to understand who the consumer is going to be the most difficult part of any startup business. And even the startup that I have been talking to, I find that this is where we ask. This is where we ask our question. Are you sure about your customer? Who do you think our consumer or customer in the case of in some products? Once, and I have skipped a lot in between with touch upon many things. Once you understand that you are clear about the needs and wants and therefore what is the product, you outline your marketing strategy. Include with your business strategy. Now coming to business strategy, since you are a lot of startups, I'll touch upon it and then I'll probably come back. In old days, the businesses were set up with one objective. In my times, when I started learning business and getting into business, we were all told that ultimately profit is the objective. And therefore, you did consumer marketing with a focus on the business goal, business from which a business strategy was derived in order to create profits for the organization. Today, it is business for profits, business for valuation. You are creating, many people are getting into business to create their value so that they can spin it off. It doesn't make profit, they won't. Amazon, till recently, was not making profits. Same thing to do with Facebook. There are a lot of people who Flipkart in India is a classic example. Till 3 years back, they were burning so much money. But look at the valuation when they were at the peak of burning monies, they also reached the peak of their valuation close to, I think, $20 billion or $15 billion, between 15 and 20. Now, subsequently, their investors decided that that's not on, and they put in removed Bansals from the day to day, put in another person who came in from a different background, but they thought was ready, and he put in a lot of breaks on spending monies and creating losses every minute. Which is Flipkart, every minute is the business. They have started turning around, they have cut the losses, they are not making money even today, but they have cut the losses dramatically. The valuation has dropped to between 10 and 20. So clearly today there seems to be businesses on which you can do marketing where you are going to run a business from valuation. I'm not going to touch upon that, although many of these principles will work there. So the business strategy and your marketing strategy are linked in that. You can create a marketing strategy to create a valuation in order to spin it off. You can create a marketing strategy to make a profit in its second, or third, or fourth, or fifth year if you are a startup, but work towards that with that goal. So the marketing strategy needs to be clear, and what are the elements of marketing strategy somewhere along the line will come. From there you create a plan. From the plan, as you keep going, you play a very decisive marketing warfare. I'll come to this later, put this in as a separate thing, because today is not the day for any soft decisions. Today, the consumers are very aware, the businesses are getting very mature very fast, and the warfare, it is real warfare on the street. So, whoever gets into these things, you need to be clear that you need to be playing a very decisive warfare. So, what is that? And finally, you need to make sure that as you play this warfare, you understand your product life cycle and your product diffusion, product adoption curve, to know that you are coming to the end of that, or you can continue with that and further define who is your customer or what the product features will change or get out of the business and so on and so forth. So this business becomes like which is the one to go forward, right? Yeah, it is. Thank you. So basically, who is your consumer? You have a business idea, you study consumer behavior, and then based on that you go to target customers. very easily said, very easy for me to create a PowerPoint slide. The most difficult activity in the whole thing. And people struggle with defining target. And they change their advertising, they change their communication, they change everything to many things. And we'll come to how companies have changed the advertising positioning in order to understand target customer data in some of the slides. So you are, if you can master this reasonably, you are better off in your quest for consumer market. And until you find your consumer target market clearly, your business will not be clear about what is the marketing plan. You will spend money on wrong areas, you will be doing wrong research, you will spend even on wrong resources to even get people in the wrong, with the wrong backgrounds, and you will not be able to get anywhere near your goal because you have defined your target customer. So, to look at it therefore in a very different way, I'll just summarize it. Start with the hypothesis, do an informal research. This is where you begin. Okay, I want to get into a product, read up literature, talk to people, do an informal research to understand how I can define the product, form a preliminary product concept, develop, do a proto, validate, and write. We spend a lot of time on this. And write a product positioning statement, define your target market, launch. These are your two key activities as a beginner, as a person who is getting into consumer marketing, to understand what is the positioning statement and what is that, who is the target market. We'll come to both later. And then of course launch. When you are going to be looking at this position, this is where the first theory comes. The gentleman got Theodore Levitt, I think, proposed this. He proposed that there are 4 P's in the marketplace. And I've heard of it. There are then 7 P's which I will also show. And these are the 4 first letters of this: product, price, place, and the promotion. He says if you want to be making a marketing strategy, you better understand the mix. What constitutes the combination of these 4 areas. Product. A car. Maruti can make a 1000, less than 1000 cc car. 900 cc car in the beginning. Why?
We wanted the car for the early adopters. We wanted to shift to cars and all because that's much cheaper.
That's why. Clearly. There are many reasons. Anybody else? Huh?
Fuel efficiency.
Huh?
Fuel efficiency.
Fuel efficiency. That came from the definition of the product in terms of design. Anybody else?
It's a people's car.
It's a people's car. He really knows. I think I might walk out at some time. See, around the time when all this was happening, the lifestyles were changing in the country. And people were starting to drive themselves. They wanted to get a car and drive to work, for leisure, to go here. The concept of owning a car in order to use it myself was starting to enter. Ambassador and the Fiat were unsuitable for that. So when they wanted to come in, they said the only way to get in is this market where it's easy to learn and drive, so get in. So the question is, what is your product? Today, what is Maruti's portfolio? They got from the Maruti 800 is almost dead. They have gone all the way to whatever, Ciaz and beyond. And they are still people's car. They hold 50% of the market. So initial definition of the product at the right time, with the right element, helped Maruti to be an unassailable market share leader in the auto market ahead of any other MNC. Of course, they had Suzuki to help them, but so question is how do you define your product? I'll go to my own experience. There are basically two types of pressure cookers in the country. Many of you know. One fits from the outside the lid, other fits from the inside of the lid. There are only two leaders. One is Prestige, the other is Hawkins. Both define the market differently. Both define the product differently. They define the product differently because they go back this helps them to define the product. And there's a history to it. In the late 50s, early 60s, 70s, our country had no money. Everything was in a licensing raj, as we have all seen. Everything is licensed by the government. Did you know that? I don't know whether you have seen a radio. Do you know that it was licensed? You needed a book, which every year in the post office you needed to pay some 2 rupees or something. They will put on stamp and give it to you. Do you know that the post office, the postmaster, was authorized to penalize you if you did not have that book which was updated? Do you know that? Life is different today, but what I'm saying, it was licensing large then. The licensing large, aluminum, which is the basic material for these products, is not available. And the government said, you make an application, I'll give you based on various things, including this, that, castings, I'll give you so much tonnage which you can pick up. So Prestige got a certain tonnage, Hawkins got a certain tonnage. Incidentally, both companies started the business around the same time. Both companies are almost the same number of years old in the country. Both brands are British brands. Both the innovations happened in UK. A lot of similarities, but here the similarities end in the Prestige was in south, Hawkins was in north. The two product formats developed completely differently because the customers in south ate rice, sambar and vegetables. The customer in north ate rotis and dal and maybe a dish with that. So suddenly the quantum of food to be cooked in both, rotis were not cooked in a pressure cooker. It was dal and vegetables. Here was everything. So Prestige came up with all heavy. In fact, when I went in 1987 into the company, 85 actually, and 87 I took over Prestige actually. A 12-liter cooker was a consumer product, heavy, and was number 2 bestseller in the product range. 10-liter was number 1. Because they were putting 4 separators, rice, dal, vegetables and maybe something else, cook it together, all cooked in 6 minutes or 7 minutes, and then go to Hawkins, 3-liter was the biggest size. Because they were cooking just dal in that to go with roti. The consumer behavior determines your target customer, and therefore going forward the product. We can go on with many examples. We can go on with many examples. And the scooties, for instance. Where did they come? The scooties, the scooter with motorcycle. To go and see, suddenly the mobility of a young person became a market phenomenon. And research showed that they wanted to be independent, whatever be the reason. They couldn't handle the Vespa, they couldn't handle the Labrador. Somebody came up with the concept of lighter, easier to maneuver vehicles. Consumer behavior, project correctly, do your research, leads to a correct product definition. Lot of things in the product. Now you can do many things. I mean, and then consumer being a consumer product, color, size, shapes, features. You can go on. Will be the total definition of what the product is. What they are on the says is that this is a very. If you don't define the product attributes very clearly, and the product features therefore coming out of those attributes very clearly, you are not going to be creating the first peak correctly. Second is the price. So, completely different in terms of session. I won't even be able to touch upon this price here because price is nobody. After 40 years, I still don't know how to price this, and I'll tell you why. But before that, some little theory. You can price what is called entry pricing. You know that your cost is 100. You know that by normal, what do you call the market trend, I mean, industry trends, you must price it at 400. But you go with 250. Entry pricing. You can go competitive pricing. You know that in that range, everybody is between 350 to 450. You say, okay, I'll be at the lower end of the pricing in order to get it 350. Same cost, same product. You can go with disruptive pricing. You can go with premium pricing. You can go many things. Do you think, let's say, Apple 10, it requires $1,000 tag? Yes. Definitely the components put together, the bill of material put together will be much more than one, even a premium product. Let's say 1+6 or something like that. But they go for premium pricing. Their approach is very different. In pricing, it's a question of what is your business strategy and therefore what's your question of marketing strategy, which earlier I touched upon. If you are looking for value to be built, you are going with acquiring customers. Because if you don't have customers, no PE fellow is going to come and look at you. So I need to say I have 42 million customers and I'm adding 1 million customers every 2 days. Now, what will I do with the data? That's a different issue. So, value. On the contrary, you are establishing it for making money, like more. Just sold off because you can manage. Because there, Aditya Birla runs 100,000 crores worth of business in this country. Came up with a supermarket because he saw Big Bazaar is doing business, somebody is doing business, so he also came up with concept of MORE more. Decided to sell it out because his job, his profit, his mindset is profit. He is not a Flipkart. He is not even a Big Bazaar. He said, I can't deal with this concept. I sold it off to somebody. So the pricing at any point of time is a matter of business strategy and therefore the marketing strategy follows. Come to Prestige. We'll come to other industries. Prestige is the highest price product in every single category that they are operating. Almost. They also have market leadership in pressure cookers, they also have market leadership in cookware, they also have market leadership in the top-end stoves, they also have market leadership more. So here is a business where high prices, high market share. So whatever I say, you can negate it. You say entry strategy is the best, somebody can say no, some other thing is the best. Honda comes out with its cars, excellent cars, decent pricing. They can't come anywhere near Maruti. They tried high price, they made it premium, they didn't succeed. They had a decent low-end pricing, they are not succeeding. They sell some 5,000, 10,000 cars a month or less than that. They still not succeeding. And what I said, huge business. You go to Southeast Asian countries, you see nothing but motors. Java. Many of you can relate to that. The good old Java was always a symbol of pride, young man, macho product. I still remember, if I close my eyes, I still can get it. The tuk, tuk, tuk of a Java on the IIT road, because my hostel was facing my room was facing the hostel. You remember that? I still know who was riding that bike. Went down. Today look at Java. Very high priced. They couldn't succeed in the market at that time. So pricing is a question of so many things. If you have great product attributes, you can start looking at the pricing at a particular level. Of course, you have to then put all your other marketing elements, the other two, place, promotion, and so many other things in place to succeed. So it's a question of what is the product you are defining out of your own quest for a business. And therefore, what is the price you want to charge? There is no rule. There is absolutely no rule. You see some premium pricing that you buy it, but then they sell it. They sell it on the basis of image which they create out of promotion. You come to place. So promotion. Promotion is all those activities which help to communicate to the customer that she wants the product. I am here in the market with this. I am telling you all this. Therefore, you should try me. It can be advertising, it could be PR, it could be digital, it could be Twitter, Facebook, anything. But ultimately, I communicate to the customer in terms of, in those days, again, 40 years back, we had print advertising. There was not even TV. There was no TV when I started my business. So we had newspaper, a few, and some very good magazines. We had Illustrated Weekly of India, which has died. We had Reader's Digest, which is still surviving. And we had Femina, we had a few good magazines, some more magazines, and newspapers. To communicate with the customers, there was radio, of course, and a little bit of outdoor. Today, the media has changed dramatically. Or so we think. But newspapers are surviving, magazines are surviving, outdoor is surviving, radio is reformatted itself to FM and is following you every second. Wherever you are listening. So the promotion is a function of how you want to reach your customers and what message you want to give. It's again a combination. This is, while talking about it, you come again to the positioning. Because what are you going to talk to the customers? You're going to talk to the customers something. What is that something which a successful consumer marketing company will do? We'll come to that. And then place. Place is very much more a rational part of this whole thing. Product, price, and promotions are very resort. Place is more restricted. Are you going to go with net-only strategy today, digital strategy only today, or are you going to do omni strategy, which is both physical and net, or you're going to have distributor-led organization, or you're going to directly go to the retailers, or you're going to do direct marketing. What did Amazon do? Many years back, they changed the rules of selling books. They started with it. And what is the main change? Selling books, what's the big deal about it? But they define their customers as someone who will love to be able to browse through a huge selection and will be happy to get it at their doorstep. As opposed to Barnes and Noble or somebody like that, where you have to go at that time, pick up a book, browse through what, all beyond that you get tired. So So what do? They invested in technology on search. What is selling and what is search got to do? It is not everything, because ultimately you search for the title that you want to buy or read. So they understood that and they put the search as the key ingredient of their business strategy. They built a search engine which was very, very efficient. And then they started selling. And that's how, and once they did that, the search engine, the searchability gave them the opportunity to do everything. And today they are doing all that and they are doing more and more and more. So the question is, the place, well I said, it's easy to understand. There are complications arising out of this sudden fast changes in the technology that we are able to harness today, which is changing day by day. Amazon was one of the earliest in doing that and being vastly successful. At some point of time, all companies wanted to go in India, in the small, much smaller market, wanted to go through digital strategy for selling. And what they found was very simple. They could get a customer, but they couldn't teach the product. Why? Because of India's infrastructure. Either it is too expensive to courier, or the roads are unnavigable to reach the customer in the rural area if you got an order. So the place, once you have done the promotion and you have done it on your net and things like that and you have created orders, you don't have a right distribution strategy in place, you are not going to take advantage of this. Ultimately today, Amazon says that they reach more pin codes than anybody else through various things, but they have developed it over a period of time. So India Post, for instance, morphed itself from doing postal activity to handling packages. Today, India Post handles for you distribution of products if you tie up with them, arising out of a digital marketing. So the place, the way to reach the customer, that's the place. The place, so if you look at today, every one of them for 9 days is changing. Why am I talking here? I'm not in the classical market. But ultimately, you have to superimpose and layer it with your own current trends. So this is the classical 4Ps. Actually, if you put it together and look at the whole thing, it will give you a very good indication of how you must create your strategy and your plans. And there's the variants, 4Ps to 4Cs. What are the 4Cs? People say, what are you talking about price? I bought this, after for the next 3 years, I spent more money in getting it serviced for repairs or running it. For instance, your water purifier, the many products which are service income pricing model. They don't make the product money on the product. Meaning they don't make the money. If they don't have the spares, they would not survive. But they get in them. And then they say every household will have to have 1,000 rupees, 1,200 rupees service thing. Otherwise your product will not work, and they make the money perennially on that product. But your customer, if you want to look at it, the C's, more from a customer perspective. The 4 P's, more from a product offering perspective. So customer says, I understand the price, but tell me the cost. Cost of total cost. It's called total cost strategy. You have to understand the total cost. The customer is looking for that. So, okay, if I buy a washing machine, if I put 10,000 rupees more, for 5 years I won't have a repair problem. It's easier for me. So I have understood that price can be viewed as any which way. Because I am looking at the total cost. I am looking at the convenience. product, you can sell a product. One of the classical products that I keep on worrying about is this. They still sell it. One of the biggest complaints is after 2 days it doesn't write. So the value that you get out of this is diminished. But we all buy because there is a choice. So what is the product I put out and what the customer perceives value with that are very, very, very different. If I don't understand the customer value in my product, I will not be successful. That's why the product when you define, you need to look at the customer. Again, I'm going to come back to that. Taste, convenience, today you know. I think all of you guys buy only on the red because it's so convenient. The convenience aspect of it, but there are several people who are still going to the mom and pop stores, neighborhood stores, even for simple staples. They see the convenience in a different perspective. They see convenience as something which I have touched, felt, know that it will be okay with me for my use. If it is staples also, I know this dal, I know this place, if I keep it, it won't go bad in 1 week. I won't get the worms going around the Chennai weather. Whereas if I get it through Big Basket or somebody else, I don't know what will happen. I don't know how old, who is the dealer. So convenience is determined by my use. Cost is determined by my total cost. Value is determined by perception. Suddenly, what the manufacturer is designing and what the customer is saying seems to be an honest. How do you marry that? That's where the product positioning statement is going to come in. Promotion and communication, very similar. I can go on shouting what I want. If I am not saying the right thing, there are enough advertising stories around. It says that what you want to advertise and what you actually communicate are two different things, and then they take it off. So the 4 P's are also to be looked at from a different perspective. You have to see it as 4 C's. Someone who doesn't look at 4 P's, but he looks at 4 C's only, but he wants to start that product or business, he will be vastly defining his marketing mix differently compared to the other guy. So then he will put in, maybe like you guys will, many of you startup will do, you will put in a self-repairing algorithm into the whole thing, and then it will straight away tell you on your systems somewhere that it's got to be done. You do all this because you suddenly will look at making sure that customers see the value in that and the convenience of not bringing a product for a repair. But somebody who doesn't do that will not a great quality product, but the first plug-in into our great electrical transmission system may blow the fuse, and then the guy will have to have the product all the way. So today the technologies are changing so fast that you are able to look at the 4 C's in a very different way in order to define the marketing strategy and how to reach the consumer. Then there is a larger one. You did this product, praise, price, and promotion. People have gone beyond that. Just touch upon it and go. They say the environment. A lot of people go to modern stores, modern format stores. Why? Everything is available on the shelf. I can touch it, I can feel it, I can see it, I can see the price, I remember what I bought, or this, that. And it is nicely lit, somebody is there to help. As opposed to a counter which separates the customer from the product. And I'll go back to my personal experience. In 2002, when it was building, we commissioned a research in activity to understand consumer behavior towards actual physical purchasing activity. What came to us? Shocking to people who are being in the business. The first thing they disliked was the fact that they go and stand in an outlet, jostle for space, ask the salesman, says, what do you want? You say pressure cooker, then he tells you what size you want. You don't know. So come to buy, you want to look at choices. No, I don't know what is available. He said, okay, I'll show you a 5 liter. He takes a 5 liter, opens the carton, takes it, puts it out. Then he said, no, this is too big for me, or too small for me. He said, okay, I'll show you the next one. He said, no, this is. By then he is irritated. He said, what do you want? You want to buy or not? That seemed to be one of the biggest negatives in the going program. The second, of course, was the fact that they didn't want to shop more than 3 or 4 kilometers radius. Arising out of these 2 major findings came our setting up India's largest own retail network called Prestige Smart Kitchen, where the whole thing is an outlet of 300 square feet, 400 square feet, designed in a particular way, but every single product was out of its box. It was unboxed and it was kept. And there were tables in between where you could come and try. So you took a pressure cooker, put it on a stove, you took a karai, put it on a stove, to see whether these 2 sizes hit each other. Suddenly, the way to customers' ability to perceive what they want to buy changed in the place mix, in the marketing mix. Today, 20% of TTK Prestige sales comes from own outlets. Market research is done there on new products. Customer complaints are taken in that process. A lot of new product development changes, ideas come from there. It is a place which has given tremendously important information, research information, which otherwise, if I want to collect, it will cost crores. In fact, I am making money out of them while I am getting that information from them. So what I am saying is, the physical environment, these modern formats thrive on the fact that they are good, well lit, easy to pick up. Prestige has changed or introduced a very successful retail format in order to understand the physical environment. Oh, out of that what happened? Very simple. The dealer said, if that is successful, please come and do something to us. So we actually helped them to remodel many stores. Today you go to many stores, in durable outlets, they have dispensed with the table in between, the counter in between. The salesman doesn't stand here, the customer doesn't stand there with something separate. They change in durables. Even in FMCG goods, even the small neighborhood stores have changed to self-service. All that is because you are requiring a physical. So as the lifestyle changes or as you become mature or whatever, the environment also needs to be clearly understood for your target market. Then of course, people and process. When you read that, it says process is important. Let me touch you because many of you may be interested. Service is a very classic problem for anybody. For instance, recently in Amazon, if you bought anything, you cannot get service in India. I don't know how they do. They put it out upfront, saying no service in India. Many people who bought unknowingly had a problem, they didn't know what to do. They changed the policy. Because now they believe that it's not going to work or Walmart is going to come in. They bought the Flipkart for that, so they have to change. So the process, what is the process you are engaging with your target market in the whole journey, especially for service? It's very important. You guys, many startups which I talk to, they say, sometimes I wonder whether it's really, they are talking more about the gizmos they will put in the product, which will communicate remotely with something, than the product itself or the product, what it's supposed to put out. But looking at a larger ecosystem, consumer ecosystem which is developing, I do believe that is going to be necessary. It is not. So you are overall when you are defining the product and the fees. The process is important. Maybe you have to do all this. In good old days, you may not have done. People, that's okay. You're not the right kind of people and so on. So the 4 P's have expanded to 7 P's because somebody wanted to write a research report which was to be different from the previous research report we did.